Good afternoon, everybody. We are joined by Heidi Reagan in the beautiful office of Blue Ridge Energy, the Watauga District office here, for the State of the Community series, the second installment, where we are having a focused conversation around local education. Heidi, thank you again for allowing us to be in your space.
Absolutely. Thank you, Katie. On behalf of Blue Ridge Energy, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the second session of the State of Community series. We are honored to sponsor this series and host all 4 sessions here at our district office in Watauga County. At Blue Ridge Energy, we are powering a brighter future for our members and communities. Blue Ridge Energy is committed to this Brighter Future initiative, and you will be hearing more about it in the September session featuring our CEO, Doug Johnson, and our Chief Operating Officer, Alan Merck, as they talk about the state of infrastructure. This Brighter Future refocuses on our commitment to communities and our 85-year history of striving to make life better. I love that we are focusing on education in the high country today, as education is a major component in improving our communities. And I'm proud of the various ways Blue Ridge Energy supports our local school systems. We have supported our schools through providing $2,000 each year to the Watauga Education Foundation, so educators can attend specialized training and also work on their credentials. We also visit every 4th grade classroom in Watauga County to deliver an electric safety program as these students start learning about electricity. I'm also proud that we can help Watauga County provide free EKGs to every high school and middle school student athlete through the Heart of a Pioneer event. It's one thing to help our students and teachers progress and learn in the classroom, but it's really special to be able to help save lives of students. One of our longest and most popular programs is our Bright Ideas Classroom Grant Program. Each year, Blue Ridge Energy provides $25,000 in grants to teachers that have creative ideas to help students learn. In Watauga and Avery counties, we have awarded 188 grants worth over $154,000, impacting over 30,000 students in this area. We are just now starting to receive applications for the 2021-2022 school year. So if you have a special educator you know out in the community, encourage them to apply. Our newest effort to help our students and communities is our Leadership Track program. Blue Ridge Energy has supported our local schools by providing college scholarships. But a few years ago, we wanted to take it one step further and start helping students prepare for other college decisions. We created the Leadership Track program, and in a nutshell, we offer all levels of high school students an opportunity to learn about things that will help them with their college selection, application, admission, and affordability. In addition to great learning opportunities, we provide over $32,000 each year in scholarships to local high school students. Again, Blue Ridge is proud to sponsor this event, and thank you, Katie, and the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce for the hard work they do each and every day for our community. Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Guys, we're excited about a wonderful program for you today. Featured guest, today we have Dr. Heather Norris, who is the Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Appalachian State University. Then we will be joined by Mr. Randy Ledford, the Vice President of Instruction for Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute. Dr. Lee King will join us, the President of Lees-McRae College. And then we will finish things up with Dr. Scott Elliott, the Superintendent for Watauga County Schools. So format for today, very informal, very conversational. Questions have been submitted prior to the event that we will address with each of the panelists, and the viewers today can also submit questions through the chat function on YouTube, and we will address those questions as well. So my first guest here is Dr. Heather Norris.
Hi, Katie.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's a delight.
Yeah. So give us a little bit of background on your role with the university and just the time that you've spent there.
Sure. I am currently serving as the Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor, but I've been at the university for a long time. I started out in 2003 as a professor in the Finance, Banking, and Insurance Department, and served in the college for many years in a variety of different administrative roles, including dean most recently.
Wow, that's wonderful. Very seasoned. So I think that we would all appreciate just a little data dump, if you will.
Sure.
Can you tell us just a little bit about current enrollment, employment, just those numbers at a glance?
I'd be happy to do that. And since Chancellor Everett's came here about 7 years ago, we've really been following a slow and steady growth model. And as of last year, we were at 20,023 students, 3,200 plus or minus employees, both part-time and full-time. Our undergraduate student enrollment was 18,061 and 1,962 graduate students. Of that student population, 18% are racially and ethnically underrepresented, and that's a 56% increase to the total underrepresented population since 2014. 97% increase to the total underrepresented population. So it's been an incredible journey and an exciting time to be in higher education in the mountains of North Carolina.
Wow, that's fantastic. So we've had summer school going on for the past couple weeks now, gearing up for the fall semester. What is leadership most excited about? What is the buzz around campus? What are you guys excited about?
Sure, we are so incredibly excited about our return to pre-pandemic conditions in a safe and healthy environment for our students, faculty, and staff. It's been a long year for everybody across the world, and it's just such a delight to be talking about inviting our students, faculty, and staff back to fully in-person experiences again.
So that brings up a good point. Let's touch on capacity for campus for the fall in terms of the student population, but we've also seen this trend of some of the App State offices moving to off-campus. Will that trend continue? What do things look like for virtual learning in the fall?
Sure. We're doing space studies, and we're returning everybody back to campus. If they had some other arrangements prior to the pandemic, then that can be explored. But really, we are using our space very efficiently. We're returning people to campus. We've had operations at other sites for years through our distance education, now App State Online programs, and so our growth in those areas will continue. One of the lessons learned from the pandemic is that we can and do online education very well, and so there are growth opportunities there, but primarily our population is residential and in Boone.
That's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you guys maybe will foresee in the future. I know that the past 18 months themselves have been incredibly challenging. How are you preparing yourself for any upcoming challenges, and what are those challenges?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, as you said, the challenges this past year hopefully will never be as great going forward. It's nice to kind of have this past year in the rearview mirror and to be looking forward to, I guess I'll use the term, more normal circumstances. The challenges that all of higher education faces right now are changing demographics, and the number of students who are graduating from high schools is on the decline in the upcoming years. And so, Chancellor Everett has been very intentional about our work in the adult and continuing student education. That's a focus across the UNC system, and it is our focus of ours, and we've been paying attention to that for quite a long time.
That's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about those pandemic-induced operational changes.
Sure.
I think that we all learned how we had to do things a little bit differently across the board. What are there any of those adjustments that you foresee sticking around?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it has allowed us to be creative in ways that we may not have gotten to those solutions or those innovations as quickly had it not been for the pandemic. So, for example, we've done a lot of online tutoring, online advising, telehealth, a whole slew of student services that we've been able to provide in an online virtual environment that we've built out, and thanks to some stimulus money from the federal government, we've been able to enhance those opportunities and those services for our students.
Are there any intentional training opportunities or just workforce development opportunities that are focused on that virtual atmosphere that you guys are doing for your staff?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a program in instructional design in our College of Ed that's a long-standing and well thought of program. We have an office Center for Academic Excellence that does in-house training for faculty and staff for instructional design in virtual, hybrid, and face-to-face environments. we were able to leverage that group and add to it faculty champions who were people who had gone through that program previously. It's kind of a train the trainer model. And we were able to reach hundreds and hundreds of faculty through that center to enhance their already proficient skills at online course development and delivery.
That is fantastic. How many, what is the employment numbers looking at now for you guys?
Our placement rates?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think like everybody else, the pandemic was a little bit unsettling, but our students are finding jobs 6 months out. I haven't looked at the most recent numbers. We capture those after graduation and then 6 months out from that. So I'll have a better number to share with you about 6 months from now.
We'll have to get back in touch then.
Yep.
So lots of construction happening on campus.
Isn't it exciting?
It is. It is very exciting. I think everybody would love an update on timelines for the North End Zone project.
Sure.
If you want to go over some of the dorm projects as well.
I'd be happy to, and I'm just going to check my notes so I have the latest figures for you. The North End Zone project, of course, is in several phases. I was in that space recently for our Board of Trustees meeting. We have a beautiful facility, the Grandview Ballroom, that was completed in November of 2020. We have phase 2 that are the first and second floors that were completed in the spring, and the final phase 3, the third floor, will be complete by August, so we're very close to finishing that.
Wow.
The residence halls are also phased, and so we had completion of the first phase of that P3 project already in place in this past year. And phase 2 will be complete in a few weeks. That'll be Laurel Creek Hall, and the final phase 3, New River Hall, will be completed in fall of 2022. So we're very close to that one as well. That's adding 500 beds and 250 new parking spaces on campus.
That's incredible. I know since the time that I was at App State, it has changed just tremendously, and it's been incredibly exciting just to see the growth.
And the buildings are beautiful.
They are.
Aren't they?
They are gorgeous.
Yeah.
They are absolutely gorgeous. Dr. Norris, any parting thoughts, any last minute messages for our viewers?
I would just say it's, a pleasure to be in the education space and to be part of the Boone community. We really value our partnerships with our K through 12, our community colleges, and the organizations and businesses in the region. We are looking forward to getting back to more in-person opportunities for our students. We like to do community projects and to work alongside of our community members to solve problems of the region. So it's a delight to be able to share a little bit with you and to share in that excitement with you for the upcoming year.
Well, we've always valued the partnership that the business community has with the university, and look forward to many more times to collaborate in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Guys, we appreciate you being here with us today. Again, this is the State of the Community series. This is session number 2. We are focusing our conversation around local education. I am Katie Green, the Director of Communications and Marketing for the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce. So my next guest here is Mr. Randy Ledford. Mr. Ledford is the VP of Instruction for Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's nice to see you. So I think the last time we were in your on your territory was for the ribbon cutting for the Student Services Center. I think everybody would love an update on how that center is serving the student population and just increasing that engagement.
Yeah, the Student Services Center up there on our Watauga campus will be open for the first time for students this fall. As we built that facility, the pandemic hit and we were not able to open that up to the public. Matter of fact, the ribbon cutting that we had was virtual, and that was David Jackson, and the chamber helped us with that particular event. And it's a beautiful building, and so all of our student services is housed in that particular building, from registration to the library to academic support, admissions, and then we have a student center in that particular building there. So it really is a nice facility. We're excited to have students be able to access that building and be able to, the bookstores in there, talking about the bookstore, one of the most important things, but have them have access to the student support services and the student center in that particular building. We're looking forward to that this fall.
It is an absolutely beautiful space, very inviting, very engaging, so I know that your student population will really enjoy that. So speaking of students, let's talk a little bit about enrollment numbers. What are the current numbers that we have, and your expectations moving forward?
We were lucky at Caldwell. We've kind of bucked the trend in the community college system. This past year, we were up in enrollment. In the last fall, we were up around 4%, roughly, where, in North Carolina, most community colleges were down. So we were one of the top 4 community colleges in the state last year for enrollment. And this summer, we've had a really strong enrollment. We were up, 4%, 5% in enrollment. And we're expecting to continue that trend. That's our expectation. One of the things we have tried to do is be flexible and adaptable with our schedule and try to meet the students where they are and what they need. We've offered a variety of classes. One of the things that we did do during the pandemic was to not take every class online. We had a bunch of hybrid courses, we had traditional courses, and we did have online courses, and we will continue that this year. Our mix is roughly about 25% online, about 25% traditional, and about 50% hybrid. And so that's one of the things that has kind of helped us to sustain our enrollment. And that's what we are trying to do, kind of sustain and kind of grow systematically.
I'd love to know a little bit more about the hybrid courses that you speak of. What does that look like from an operational standpoint, and how are the instructors executing those classes?
One thing that was fortunate for us before the pandemic actually did hit back in March of 20 was we had created the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. So we was positioned to provide professional development, and we had started working on that for our instructors, focused on online learning and how to engage students. And so we had kind of already been down that road with the instructors. So whenever the pandemic did hit, we were able to kind of ramp that up with that center and our instructional technologists and our instructional design people to try to help facilitate that hybrid model to where it's flexible. We had synchronous in the classroom some. We had synchronous online some. So what that is that the students can actually be in front of the live instructor during the time where instruction's going on in the classroom. If they can't make it to the traditional class, they could log in from home or wherever they're doing their classwork, and they could see the instruction taking place in live real time, or they could come to the seated portion of it. So we were flexible in that manner, but sometimes some of the instruction is asynchronous, so they did it at their time that was flexible for them. If they needed to do it at night, they could do it at night. If they needed to do it in the morning, they could do it in the morning. So whatever worked for them. So we had flexibility in our classes through that hybrid approach.
Has it been difficult for your staff to transition and feel comfortable with the delivery of the courses in that hybrid manner? Some
staff has some difficulty making that switch because, a lot of our instruction is technical in training, right? It's a lot of hands-on. So you can't put hands-on training in a hybrid model. And, you can put the lecture portion, online, but a lot of that you just have to be able to do on hand. And it's hard to teach welding, in an online format, or it's hard to teach any health sciences in an online format. You have to learn the skills by hand. And so we've had to adjust to that model. A lot of our instructors have had to kind of, figure out how to make that happen. And, by and large, they've done a really good job at trying to figure out a new method of teaching helping students during this pandemic. I think one of the things that has really came out in this pandemic is with higher education in general, is that it showed how nimble higher education can be, and K through 12 as well. You know, I mean, we've had to kind of reimagine what learning can be, and I think that has really taken the forefront of what it can be moving into the future. So it gives us some idea of what we can do and what we can do better at.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we were forced into making those adjustments and changes, but we're going to be better off in the future for that.
Absolutely.
So big news, kind of switching gears here, big news coming from the state level a few weeks ago with the Longleaf Commitment Grant. I would love for you to kind of go over the details of what that means for you guys and potential students in the future, and then any updates on applications for that grant.
Yeah, that was big news coming out of Raleigh. The Longleaf grant is primarily geared towards the 2021 graduates, and they can earn up to $2,800 in tuition and fees if they meet several criteria. One, they have to be graduates. They have to be first generation. They have to be enrolled at least 6 hours part-time. They have to fill out the FAFSA. They have to have a certain EFC number. I think it has to be less than 15,000. But the scholarship is through 2 years. They have to, be going into a Title IV curriculum program that's eligible for that. So hopefully that will entice students to come to Caldwell and get them into a curriculum program that interests them. We do have a pocket of students that say they want to come to a community college, but they don't ever arrive at a community college. So we're hoping that in that 20% of students that fall into that category, we're hoping that this particular pot of money will help entice them to come, because it really is tuition and fee, can help them with that. So up to $2,800 a year. So it really could be a game changer for a lot of students and set them up on the right path for their future.
Absolutely. Now, are applications open for that Longleaf grant?
Yes, they are open. I don't have any of the numbers right now, how many is applying, but we are pushing that into, we have transition advisors in the high schools, and we are pushing those. And I'm sorry I don't have the numbers, how many's applied for that yet, but we are pushing that, and we're hoping that will help those populations that currently say they want to come, but they don't show up.
So, and that's another good point to bring up. So those interested can contact your
Absolutely.
Offices and get support in that area?
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. So switching gears just a little bit here, we all know that the construction industry really has boomed over the past 18 months, and it has revealed some shortages in more of those skilled labor and trade career paths. So I know that you guys have collaborated with a lot of the high country business community and the high school with the Trade Up program. I would love for you to go over some of the details of that program and some of your recent successes.
We actually started that Trade Up program in conjunction with Watauga County Schools and the High Country Builders Association last year, and we had double. I think we had 12 in it last year, and this year we have 6 that is involved in that particular program. And it really started in conversation with the High Country Builders, and at one of our meetings with Watauga County Schools and Caldwell County Schools, as they were relating their needs in the construction trades and the lack of skilled people coming into the construction trades, and they were concerned about not having enough skill sets coming into the field. So therefore, they were willing to look at bringing non-skilled people in, younger people into there and training them on the job. And so one of the things that we looked at is some models, and there's some models out there that use this trade-up program where we would come in and teach them, on this 96-hour curriculum, these construction trades, these skill sets, fundamentals, and then send them out on this internship, apprenticeship type kind of model, and let them work with the business and industry for the summer. And that's how we've set it up, and the business and industry has been real key into this development. Without them, we couldn't have done it, because the real meat of this program is having the business and industry partners work with those students and giving them the skills and giving them a taste of what the construction trades field is all about. And that's something that Caldwell Community College Technical Institute and Watauga County Schools, we can't do that. We can't give them those hands-on skills out in industry. And so without them, we couldn't have pulled this off. But between the three of us, we got a pretty good program going on right now. We look to expand it.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So any businesses out there that are interested in maybe becoming one of the partners to offer these apprenticeships, is that open and available?
Yes. Yes, most definitely. Mark Barber has been our contact, has been leading that. They can contact Mark Barber at the college. They can contact me at the college. We can definitely get them in touch and get them part of the program. The more businesses that we have involved in that, the more students we can get involved in the program.
That's fantastic.
One of the things that we are doing up here in the high country is we are adding more construction trades programs. So we're in the process of bringing electrical systems up here, plumbing, and HVAC. So we hope to have those up and running in the fall, those particular programs. And part of that is, the governor also, he made the announcement about the long leaf, right? He also has the governor emergency education relief funds out there, the GEAR scholarships, that would also help pay for continuing education short-term training scholarships for things like construction trades, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, nurse aid, welding. There's scholarships for those short-term training as well. So we have avenues to get students into programs that either curriculum through Longleaf if you're a new grad, and we have other scholarships for other curriculum programs if you're not a new grad. We have other scholarships for that, but we also have scholarship money available through GEAR if you are just interested in short-term training, or if you're interested in something that's 96 hours and above. I mean, it could be BLET, it could be truck driving, it could be anything else that we have, but we do have scholarship money for that as well.
And these classes are starting in high school, from what I can tell.
We do have some that is starting in high school. We have pathways and short-term training that does start in high school.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you guys excited about? I'd love to hear from your perspective, leadership and the admin side. What are you excited about going into this next fall semester? What's on the horizon?
We have a lot of opportunity, and one of the opportunities that we feel like we have is up here in the high country. So one of the things that I'm working on is trying to figure out how to bring more technical programs to the high country, healthcare and technical training. One of the things that we are working on is bringing BLET to the high country, more healthcare programs to the high country, and some technical training in like advanced manufacturing, construction trades, some of those skills up to the high country. So we're working on plans on trying to figure out how to bring more of those to the high country, because we don't have a lot of technical training up here in Boone. And so looking at that, how can we do that? How can we form partnerships? We do have partnerships with Lees-McRae. We do have partnerships with Appalachian State. We have a great partnership with Watauga County Schools. How do we expand those partnerships? what does it look like as we move forward into the delivery of programs? What does it look like as we move into delivery of courses? I'm real excited about, moving into the future of that. So I think that's an opportunity. So I think we have a really strong future ahead of us at Caldwell because of we have a lot of flexibility to look at things from a different perspective. I think the pandemic really gave us an opportunity to look at things differently.
It feels good to be on the side of being able to reflect on the pandemic times.
It does, and that's one of the things that, from me personally, I can't speak for everybody, but during the pandemic, we didn't have a playbook on how to navigate that, and no matter what you do, you just kind of listen to all of the the collective wisdom of everybody in the room, the healthcare professionals, CDC, and you make the best decision you can for students and staff and faculty, and but then at the same time as you're going through that, you're always kind of thinking about, well, how can we position ourselves to, as we come out of this, or how do we position ourselves to where we're stronger coming out of it, and how do we set ourselves up? And so that's one of the things that I have always tried to think through, and that's one of the things I think our administrative team did it exceptionally well, and I think that's why we are today at Caldwell as opposed to some of the other institutions in the community college system. I think we had a lot of foresight and thought things through. Dr. Porch did a good job with leading that team.
Well, I know that you guys have been incredibly intentional about decisions, and the partnerships that have been developed have been strengthened definitely during the past 18 months. What barriers do you see going forward? What challenges are kind of on the horizon that you guys want to take a proactive approach to addressing?
One of the things that has always been a barrier for us in the community colleges is being able to pay faculty, really, and staff, being competitive in salaries. We have a really tough time in some areas, healthcare, advanced manufacturing, in those areas. We have a really tough time being competitive, especially in this job market right now when every business in the industry is struggling to find employees, and the salaries are so competitive out in business and industry. It's hard to compete with those salaries, and I know the President's Association and the system office is working with our with the General Assembly, trying to make advances in those faculty and staff salaries for the system. But that's one of the barriers that we do have, because if we can't have qualified instructors in the classroom, we're going to struggle producing, qualified talent in the workforce. So that's a barrier. I think one of the things that is also a barrier is leadership, right? In the community college system, we have a leadership vacuum that we have to constantly, try to work on and keep up with, and, replacing, strong leaders as they retire or leave the system. And then resources, we always, struggle for resources, and, and try to do more with less, but we'll always fight that battle. But we've been incredibly lucky. We've been resilient, and went after a lot of grant money, and we've been successful at that. And but those are probably the main the big three that I see that we're going to continue to struggle with.
Yeah. Any parting thoughts? Last messages to the business community, potential future students, your current student body. Any parting and closing thoughts?
Well, one of the things that I would say to the business community is that we need all the partnerships that we can so that we can help develop that talent pipeline for you. Sorry about that. Because without the input from the business and industry, we don't know exactly what skill sets they actually need. And that would just help the economic development of the high country. So that's one of the big things that we need to have more partnerships, more collaborative partnerships. And for the students, I would say Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute is one of your most efficient return on investments that you could have, right? We have good partnerships with the universities. Our credits does transfer there, and then the other side of that is that it does set you up well for going into business and industry, because we do have good partnerships already with business and industry, so our skill sets are matched with what they do need because of those partnerships.
That's fantastic. Well, we can't thank you enough for your investment in the community and your students. We appreciate your time here today and look forward to other conversations in the future.
Thank you.
So,
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, once again, we are streaming live from the Blue Ridge Energy Watauga District Office. Thanks to our friends here at Rigid AV for making all of this happen. A lot going on at Blue Ridge today. If you are driving by, you're probably seeing the tent outside. So they are doing a ribbon cutting for the EVDC fast charger. This is the second one in the Blue Ridge Energy Service Territory. It includes state-of-the-art technology and capabilities to meet fast charging needs for electric vehicles. So we're excited for the opportunity and what this means for the high country. You will probably see a nice little photo album on our website after the day is over. So lots going on here, and we appreciate all of the support from Blue Ridge Energy. So next guest I have is Dr. Lee King, the president of Lees-McRae College. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad you're here. So you guys are breaking some records in Banner Elk, I hear. Give us an update on enrollment and expectations for this incoming freshman class.
Thanks so much. It's been a great year at Lees-McRae. Through the pandemic, we actually thrived when others were sort of turning inward. And this year, we're gonna have our largest freshman class ever.
Wow.
As of today, the number is 305 freshmen and transfer students. That's up from 260 the year before. And there are lots of things that I can point to that, but is the reason for that. But we're very excited about what that means for the community, what it means for the college, and we look forward to serving those students in just a few weeks when they show up on campus.
Yeah, I'd love to hear those contributing factors. What would you identify as those contributing factors?
Sure, I think through the pandemic, our current students, our prospective students have seen Lees-McRae and Banner Elk as a safe place to be. You don't have to look any further than the number of visitors to the community to know that the mountains are a draw. During the same time, our retention has also increased significantly. Our retention of our two most recent first-year classes we've seen double-digit growth in our retention. So I think our students have appreciated the opportunity to have some sort of normalcy, a sense of normalcy, where we remain fully open. We were able to put in place all of the social distancing measures and follow the CDC guidelines, but we were able to remain fully open with students on campus. So I think students have appreciated that opportunity to be, have a normal pace of life in their college environment. And we're also seeing, students are seeing in Lees-McRae really for the uniqueness that we are. I tell people all the time, I would never want to be president of one of the 2,000 sort of plain vanilla liberal arts colleges that are out there. And Lees-McRae is in no way plain vanilla. We have a number of academic programs, athletic programs that have an international recruiting audience. Our program in wildlife rehabilitation, for example, has no peers anywhere in the country. There are only 2 other undergraduate wildlife rehabilitation programs in the country, and they're at much larger universities in the Northeast and in Alaska. That program recruits students from all over the world, and a very diverse population of students come to that. We take care of between 1,700 and 1,800 injured wildlife a year at our May Wildlife Center on our campus. It's really a unique hallmark of Lees-McRae. And this summer, viewers that may be watching, our students in Our students and faculty are doing wildlife presentations every Friday and Saturday at 1 p.m. in the town park in Banner Elk. They bring out our wildlife ambassador animals and teach about wildlife studies and what to do if you see an injured animal and the unique characteristics of the various animals. We have a new program in ski industry, business and instruction. That's a partnership with Beach Mountain Resort. So I think all of those things, we've been very intentional as well with recruiting outside of the state of North Carolina. We have a new team in the admissions office that's doing a fantastic job reaching into New England, reaching into other states around the country to tell the story of Lees-McRae. And we're such a unique place that I think that's why we're seeing some of the growth that we're seeing.
Very cool. And it's just it's a stunning campus too. I encourage anybody that has not been over to the campus to go check it out.
It is. The rock in those historic old buildings on campus was literally dragged from the Elk River by the local citizens of Banner Elk in the early 1920s.
Wow.
And so it really is, native stone buildings, and it's a beautiful place.
That is incredible. So you guys are excited about the fall semester coming up.
We are.
Anything that we should keep on our radar that you're planning, or events, student engagement, what's going on? What can we get excited about for the
Sure.
fall?
So a lot of actually economic activity is going to be happening on our campus over the course of the next year. This is a whirlwind summer for us right now. We have a major renovation going on of our dining hall. The McDonald Dining Hall is getting a complete gut and a complete renovation. That's actually funded by a gift from Aramark, our food service provider. It's a $3 million project. So when our students return to school, they'll have a brand new interior of a dining facility to enjoy their meals and be part of. We are also, when I started my presidency 3 years ago, we embarked at that time on a new facility master plan process to really envision where do we need to grow as we grow toward, we'd love to grow toward a student body of 1,000 students on campus in Banner Elk and another 300 to 400 in our online or off-campus programs. So the master plan process was really focusing on how do we grow, how do we take care of deferred maintenance, if we need to build a new residence hall or a new classroom building, where would we put it? So the first phase of that master plan is actually, we hopefully will get started in the course of this academic year, and it will be a major renovation of what we call the historic commons, which were the 3 original buildings on our campus, the Virginia, North Carolina, and Tennessee buildings that were built in the early 1920s on our campus. Part of the master planning process and one of our strategic plan priorities is to focus on improve retention and student success. So those 3 buildings are being designed and renovated as an intentional freshman living learning community. So that project is actually going to be about a $30 million renovation project that will kick off on our campus. Wow. As soon as the financing comes together in the next month or so, we hope to be underway in that, but certainly by mid to late fall. The architects are wrapping up their work on the construction design, and we look forward to what that's going to bring to our campus and the economic impact that that's going to have on the community with those construction jobs and other things that are happening along with that.
That's incredible. That's going to be really exciting to see.
It will be.
So tell us a little bit about, you mentioned that you guys were able to continue operations during the pandemic without having to shut down to in-person learning. Were you able to, I know some folks have mentioned today the option of hybrid learning. Did you guys implement any of those virtual learning opportunities? And what does that look like going forward on the virtual sense?
So absolutely, all colleges had to be flexible during the pandemic. We had some faculty for their own health reasons that were not able to return to the classroom. So there were a limited number of classes on our campus that moved into an online format. And we tried our best to accommodate our students that had concerns about coming back to college in the middle of a pandemic or continuing their studies on campus. So our faculty did a Herculean effort of teaching in person, and to the limited number of students that were at home and wanting to do remote, they were synchronously instructing to them. All colleges had students going in and out of quarantine, so you would have some students that were in a dorm room or in a quarantine space continuing to keep up with their studies. We anticipate this year going back to basically a fully normal operation. We say very intently Lees-McRae is a residential college, and we're a highly experiential college. Most all of our academic programs have an experiential component that's very hands-on. It's very hard to do that in an online or hybrid situation. We also, for some of our classroom capacity issues last year, we had to split a course, for example, into 2 sections. So you may have had one group of students in class today, and then on Wednesday, a separate group would be in that class period, and the others would be taking it sort of in a hybrid format simultaneously from their dorm room or somewhere else. We don't anticipate being in that situation this year. But there are some things that we learned through the pandemic that we're going to continue to operationalize and work on. One of the side effects that came out of this is that we need to do a stronger job of supporting our faculty and utilizing instructional technology more appropriately. And we've actually created a new Center for Teaching and Learning on our campus that is a faculty-led sort of think tank and professional development opportunity to encourage our faculty to be stronger users of technology, to look at new ways to deliver course content. And it probably will be, as I think the future of higher education is indeed a combination of in-person, hybrid, synchronous instruction, and we're going to be very intentional about how that fits into the future of Lees-McRae.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. So you guys were recently awarded some CARES Act money that was used by the Shelton Learning Commons. I would love for you to tell the viewers what the long-term vision for that money was and the intent behind it.
Yeah, we'll have to say our elected officials get a lot of grief around the country and the world. I have to give nothing but praise to our elected officials, both in Congress and our local elected officials here in the North Carolina legislature and Governor Cooper. The CARES Act funding that came from Congress for things like scholarship funds for students whose families were impacted by the pandemic, new money that came through the CARES Act for technology upgrades, for infrastructure type upgrades to better support online learning and technology was huge for institutions like Lees-McRae. So the specific one you're talking about with the Shelton Learning Commons, our library was renamed a few years ago as the Shelton Learning Commons. And through some of the grants that we got through the CARES grant, we have been able to purchase additional laptops for students to check out, to be able to use in their dorm rooms, to be able to use at other places on campus to help facilitate their learning. But again, I have to give huge kudos to our elected officials for that, how they have constructively used the CARES grant money to impact colleges and universities, and give particular praise to our state legislators and Governor Cooper. We have, most all of us that have gotten money through the CARES Act have been able to upgrade computer networks, have been able to make technology upgrades. We've been able to do, for example, on our campus, heating and ventilation upgrades. We installed by mid-year, through some CARES Act money, we installed ultraviolet purification systems and most all of the air handlers on campus that could support those systems to further cleanse the air, to remove the airborne viruses and bacteria. None of which would have been able to happen had it not been for those resources. And then students have benefited greatly through that. Students that are Pell Grant recipients, students that have high financial need, were able to get significantly more scholarship funding through the CARES Grant program. And students that were impacted who had their family impacted directly by COVID. If a family member or a parent lost a job or were having some other economic difficulties, the amount of scholarship aid that was available to those students was phenomenal. So hats off to our legislators, not only Senator Ballard here in the High Country was very instrumental in helping that through the North Carolina Senate Education Committee, and Governor Cooper did a great job making sure that higher education was taken care of, and it's one of the things I give Congress praise for right now as to how they funneled the funding to the entire higher education sector to take care of students and help us with infrastructure needs. And
what a positive impact that is able to make.
Absolutely. Well, I can point to a number of different initiatives on our campus that are the direct outcome of those investments that came through the CARES Act.
One of the, I think I was reading the press release on the library, the funds are being used for computers for students to be able to check out.
Yes.
And someone was quoted in the release saying that just because a student can afford college doesn't mean they can afford the technology
That's right.
too.
What you see frequently in many students that are in public colleges as well as private colleges is their families struggle so much just to afford the ability to come. And that is even with Pell Grant funding, with significant financial aid from the institutions themselves. And often what is missed are things like being able to afford books, being able to afford current modern technology to be able to keep up with their courses. So this grant that our Learning Commons did helps fill that void for some of our students, and it's great to see.
That's fantastic. Let's see here. Greatest challenges moving forward. So I know that the past 18 months has been a lot of overcoming challenges for your staff and for your leadership team. What is on the horizon as barriers and challenges as you move forward? Yeah,
I think we're at an interesting sort of inflection and turning point at Lees-McRae. We're seeing retention of our previous classes at levels that the college has never seen before. We're seeing, we started our conversation with the largest freshman class coming this year in the college's history. And in addition to that, it's fair and very important for me to point out, in this year's record freshman class are triple the number of honor students.
Wow.
So over 100 of the roughly 300 students that are coming this year are qualifying for our honors program through their high school GPA, their SAT scores. So I want to make sure that the institution is on its game and being able to support them with a robust academic program, be able to take care of their needs both out of the classroom through our student services like counseling and mental health services. But I'm telling our leadership team right now, we're lucky enough to be a leadership team that has what I say a once in a 2-generation opportunity to fundamentally strengthen an institution like Lees-McRae. Retention is getting stronger. There's significant demand for our enrollment. In the last 3 years, our endowment has doubled. Donors are seeing that the college is a strong investment. So we have to be very careful, and this is going to be the year for my leadership team of where we are going to be intentionally linking strategic planning to budgeting, to fundraising objectives, to make sure that we don't lose some of this momentum that we have and that we use this opportunity to continue to fundamentally strengthen Lees-McRae. If we're able to continue to see average freshman classes of 300 students, retention above 75%, then all of a sudden we'll be out of space on the Banner Elk campus. It may give us an opportunity to begin turning the dials on the number of, the high-level academic quality of incoming classes. And, again, I'm blessed and our leadership team is blessed with as I say, a once-in-a-2-generation opportunity to fundamentally strengthen the institution. And I don't want to see us squander that opportunity. So I'm going to be pushing our staff to be very intentional about planning and very intentional about assessment and very intentional about making sure that we make the most of this opportunity to serve our students and continue to be a leader in the region.
Dr. King, any parting thoughts for the business community or our viewers out there? You've been a wealth of information thus far. Thank you.
No parting thoughts. I'm grateful for the Boone Chamber and what you do for the business community here, even though we're over the mountain in Avery County. I very much value what this community does. There is one thing I'd love for the business community and us to begin thinking about and solving as a region. And I'm struggling with this every day at Lees-McRae as we're hiring new faculty, as we're hiring new coaching staff and staff, is what I call the issue of workforce housing. Affordable housing for the workforce that lives in this area is becoming more and more difficult to find. And I think it's something that we're not going to be able to handle or solve ourselves in Banner Elk. It probably needs a regional approach to that. And count me in being part of those conversations.
That's great to know, and I can very much see us having those conversations down the road.
Good.
Thank you, Dr. King. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all that you do for our community.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to meet you, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, once again, we are in the Blue Ridge Energy Watauga District office for the second installment of the State of the Community series with a focus on local education. I am Katie Green, the Director of Communications and Marketing. Last but certainly not least, we are joined by Dr. Scott Elliott, Superintendent for Watauga County Schools. And I think congratulations are in order from the board meeting.
Do you mean that I'm still employed?
Yes, that you're
Yes.
still employed.
Yes, I don't
Yes.
take that for granted every day.
Yes. Well, congratulations. That was great to read about.
Thank you. Yeah, the contract, the Board of Education did this year extend my contract. I'm very, don't like to talk about myself, as you can tell, but very honored to be here. Love this community and proud to serve here. So thank you for saying that.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
we are just as honored to have you and
you.
excited about the extension on the contract. So, Dr. Elliott, I'd love for you to just give us a quick overview of the makeup of the Watauga County School District for those of you who may not know out there, and some insight into enrollment and employment numbers for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for inviting me. Thank you to the Chamber for always providing such great information to our public. And I've enjoyed listening to these conversations of these other three great leaders, and I'm just reminded of just how fortunate we are to have all of these different partners here and the importance that education plays in our community. And we in the school system are very proud to be a part of that. I don't take for granted that everyone knows about our school system, and a lot of people move here from other places and bring with them some experiences and assumptions about how school systems are organized and governed and that sort of thing. So I appreciate you asking about something that probably we just take for granted as parents in our schools. We are a one-county school system, so all of Watauga County Schools serves all of Watauga County and all the children of Watauga County. We're a small to medium-sized school system compared to some others in the state. There are 115 school systems in the 100 counties in North Carolina, with the smallest one being around 600 students out along the coast, the largest being in Wake County with probably 125 or so thousand students, I believe. We currently have enrollment of around 4,600 students in 11 different schools. And so I just want to explain what that means, because our school configuration is unique and also has been changing and somewhat changing in this last year as a result of the pandemic. We're very unique in that we have 8 K-8 schools. There are most places actually have elementary schools, or even elementaries are broken into grade levels, and then middle schools and then high schools. We have 8 very community-based, very community-oriented K-8 schools. The smallest of which has about 150 students, the largest of which has about 900 students. So a lot of diversity across the county. We have one traditional, consolidated, comprehensive high school, Watauga High School, that has about 1,500 students enrolled, and just tons of wonderful programs and opportunities that are available for students. About 5 years ago, we created a school inside of Watauga High School in partnership with Mr. Ledford and Caldwell Community College, our Watauga Innovation Academy. Students who enter 9th grade at Watauga High School can actually be dual enrolled as college students and high school students and begin taking their associate's degree classes as 9th graders. It's been really a personal joy for me after years of working on those kind of programs this year as a dad, seeing my son in 9th grade participating in that Watauga Innovation Academy in the health sciences program. We have everything there from, the pre-college associate's degree program to our health sciences program students who are getting their credentials as nurses, to in the building trades, in drafting, auto mechanics, business, all kinds of things. And then this year, we are starting our 11th school, the Watauga Innovation Academy, which we offered as sort of a standalone program last year for families and students who wanted an all-remote school experience through the pandemic. We had around 600 students of our 4,600 last year who participated in that. So, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in a little bit, about lessons learned through the pandemic, but what we found is that we all have and enjoy choices in as many aspects of our lives as possible. And even though some people a couple of years ago might have never thought about an all-remote virtual education for their child, as a result of the pandemic, they did it and found that it worked for them, that they enjoyed it, or that their children really thrived in it. Now, many children didn't thrive through remote instruction, but many did. And so we have applied to the state. We have an official school number and a small budget from the state for that. And we're kind of viewing it as an experiment over the next few years to see if that is a need that we have in the community and how we can meet it. A little bit more just as an overview, and I appreciate the business community always tuning into this, and we might not think of our schools as a kind of business, but we're the 3rd largest employer in Watauga County. So today you've heard from the 1st and the 3rd largest employers in our community. We don't think of ourselves as a business, but I don't take for granted that we have a $52 million a year budget. We have over 720 employees who have retirement benefits, health insurance, steady income, and it's something that we did not take for granted throughout the pandemic, in that we didn't have to lay off anyone. People were able to keep their jobs, even if we had to get creative about reassigning some of those duties. And often, about this time last year, we had employees who were the only members of their family who were currently working and had insurance. Wow. So we're very proud of that. We're very proud to be a place where people are moving and relocating to our area because of the quality of the education that their children can receive in our school system. And as we're doing all of our hiring right now for the coming school year, I'm just very pleased by the number of folks who are seeking us out because they want to come and work here.
Wow. I think every time you talk about the school system, I learn something new. So I appreciate that spiel as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the recent successes. I know you like to brag on the school system, so this is your opportunity to kind of reflect on the past semester, year to 18 months, and let's talk about some of those positive things.
Yeah, well, I'm always super proud of our schools. I love our school system, love our community, and just love being in our schools and seeing what our students are doing. And so I could probably spend about an hour with you talking about all of the accomplishments that our students achieved this past year. Even though school was so strange and the starting and stopping and remote instruction, we tried to keep as many of the activities and normalcy for our students as possible. We had students participating in their career and technical education professional organizations. So we had students participating in their nursing programs or in their business competitions. And Watauga County continues to be a leader in the state in our career and technical education programs. And that's in large part because of our relationship with Caldwell Community College and the facilities that we share both on our campus and theirs. We have seen an increase in our graduation rate. And back to our career and technical education completers, we just had a presentation from Tiara Stark, our director of the Watauga Innovation Academy, to the Board of Education Monday night. Students who complete at least 2 vocational or career and tech classes in high school have a 98% graduation rate. So we see the more that students are engaged, the more likely they are to be successful and to stay in school. Probably the top of mind, though, is just all of the hard work that our teachers did and all of the hard work that our parents and students did to really work together and weather the ebbs and flows of this past year. And I will say that it was a reminder to me, and this is something I want to brag on, the role of our school system as a kind of infrastructure to our community. So even when our students went home, when the governor closed our schools, we quickly pivoted to try to figure out how do we begin to provide meals to the 30% of children who are in free and reduced lunch in our community, or to anyone else in the community. And so we served hundreds of thousands of meals free, and many times delivering them on school buses with teachers riding the buses. So just that kind of thing. Community members coming forward and wanting to pay off the overdue lunch charges of children who couldn't afford it, or people who wanted to buy laptop computers to make sure that every student in the school system could have one. Or our business partners like Skyline, Skybest, Carolina West Wireless, Verizon, and others coming forward and helping us to provide over 200 free Wi-Fi hotspots out to children in the community who otherwise wouldn't have internet access. So just seeing how a community comes together, and then the role that the school system plays in helping with the overall quality of life and health and wellness of the community has just made me very happy.
How can we continue that momentum? How can we continue that that kind of band together, we are one community going forward?
It's very important. I think that, I often say that public school systems are a glue that holds a community together. Our schools are used not just for places of learning and classrooms, but as civic centers. We have churches that go to church in our schools on the weekends. We have parks and recreation programs. Often families' first experience with one of our schools is bringing a child to play soccer or to play t-ball or something like that. We're places where people come to be vaccinated or to get health care. I'm very proud that our nurses have facilitated, I believe, 12 different vaccine clinics for both our employees, students, and the public. Thousands of people. The very first vaccine clinic open to the public in the community back in January was held at Watauga High School. Wow. And we have provided vaccines to almost 700 of our students and their parents who otherwise wouldn't have gotten vaccinated. Over 90% of our staff are vaccinated. We provide health and wellness fairs for folks once a year. So we provide for the greater good of the community. And I guess to answer your question, I would say we just can't take it for granted. That I want people to appreciate that our public school system is here to serve the community and to love these children, but also to help the parents and the families and to help us stay together as a community. People who move here often say the high country and Watauga, we're just different. There's just something different here. And I would say that our public school system and the role that we play is part of what makes it different. Let's just don't take it for granted. Let's continue to support it in any way we can.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think that we should address the burning question that everybody is probably asking you at this point. Operational update for the school system for fall 2021.
Sure.
Anything that is set in stone? Anything that we can talk about today?
Yes, absolutely. And there are probably several burning questions in there as well, some of which I'm just as eager to hear answers to as anyone else. But as your other panelists said about their operations, we are eager to get back to normal, to have children and teachers and parents experience school as normally as possible. And we made a lot of decisions throughout last year based on the information that was provided to us and the rules and regulations handed down to us by the governor or the legislature or the Department of Health and Human Services. And while sometimes when we look back and think, well, maybe that wasn't necessary, or thank goodness we did that, we now see that we've come through a very difficult time and have made huge improvements. I looked at the App Healthcare website just before coming over here. I think we currently have 7 current cases of COVID in the community, just so far that we have come. And we certainly want to see that continue. We want children to have as normal a school experience as possible. And while some of those things we have control over, some of those things we don't have control over. So we're continuing to wait to hear from the governor or the legislature. There is a bill pending in the legislature right now that would leave it to local boards of education as to whether or not children will be required to wear masks. Currently, that is the requirement. Children that are in summer school with us right now, the teachers and the students are wearing their masks just like they did at the end of the last school year. Personally, I hope that changes. I hope that parents have the flexibility to decide that, in part because I believe that's a parent's responsibility, but also because I hope that our conditions continue to be positive enough that is the case. Watauga County Schools this year has participated in a collaborative with Duke University School of Medicine and the pediatric program and UNC Chapel Hill through what's called an ABC collaborative, and we just had a meeting this morning to hear the results. And they're making the case that there is a very strong correlation between the decline in our positive cases and the increase in our vaccination rates. Currently in Watauga County, about 28% of children ages 12 to 17 have been vaccinated. My hope is that parents will talk with their physicians and pediatricians and primary care providers and make the best decision for them, but when possible, make the decision to protect their children with vaccines. The more of us who are vaccinated, the sooner we can get back to normal. But in terms of social distancing, the screenings in the card rider line, things like that, we very much anticipate being back to normal. We continued with a modified screening procedure at the end of the year. Next year, we do not. So just make parents aware of and ask them to continue to monitor for those procedures. We probably won't have to be as strict about the social distancing in school, but we'll continue with a lot of the health and safety protocols. And I'm right there with everyone else in wanting to know what the mask requirement is going to be, and have shared my opinions with all of our state leaders and elected officials, and hope we hear that as soon as possible.
I know a lot of funding was allocated for school nutrition this past year. Any word on what that will look like in the upcoming semester?
Yeah, just like Dr. King had mentioned earlier, and I am also thankful for our federal government, for Representative Fox and the Congress, and for our Governor Cooper and our legislators, Senator Ballard and Representative Pickett, who are always checking on us to see what we need and providing us with the funds and flexibility. And one of those is continuing the waivers and the funding that next school year will allow every child to have a free breakfast and a free lunch at school. That is a huge financial benefit to our families, also a huge health and wellness benefit to many of our children, and that's something that we're glad will continue. I failed to mention something to you a moment ago, which I take for granted, but I think has also been one of those hot topics. We will be in school 5 days a week, full schedule, 5 days a week. We were very fortunate that our Board of Education allowed our teachers to have Wednesdays for extra interventions with students who needed it, time for them to work and plan together, things like that. But we made the decision at that time that we would end the year that way. We'll be beginning school August the 16th on a 5-day-a-week schedule.
I think everybody at home is probably clapping like I am
I am
inside
too.
right
Yeah,
now. That's
yep.
super exciting. So switching gears a little bit, whenever the pandemic hit, we didn't really have a whole lot of time to prepare. Now we've kind of been there, done that. Hopefully, crossing fingers, nothing like that happens again. But how are you guys aligning yourselves to manage any quick potential pivots that could have to happen in this upcoming school year?
Well, we learned a lot of lessons last year, and we're fortunate. Again, I talked about the size of our school system, that we don't have a lot of bureaucracy in our school system. We have great support and communication from our Board of Education. We can quickly, we've used this word a lot in the last year, but pivot. We can quickly change what we are doing without a lot of administrative hoops that we have to jump through. So we've learned about the importance of agility and resiliency as a business, as an organization. And not being afraid to second guess or to reflect on some of the practices that we've always done just because we've always done them. Certainly also providing enough computers, laptop computers and Chromebooks for every student to have one in the event that it's needed. I give credit to our county commissioners for funding that initiative, for our Board of Education for prioritizing that in our budget, for our teachers for the work that they've done to learn how to get the best use out of that. Some difficult lessons learned through remote instruction last year. So whether it be winter weather days or whether it be children who are just sick because our children get sick or they have the flu or whatever and need to continue their instruction at home, we've learned lots of ways about how to do that and do it better. And we've also learned that we just have to be open-minded and flexible for whatever might come. We didn't see the pandemic coming, so we can't see the thing that we don't know about right now. But I know that by working together, being flexible, and supporting one another, open communication. I don't think the relationship has ever been stronger than it is now between students and teachers and parents. Parents know much more about what goes on in their child's education right now, and we're grateful for that. And I think just working together, we're prepared for whatever might come.
That's fantastic. You mentioned one thing that I do want to bring up in the looking at fall operations. What does this virtual learning look like? What does that mean for potential snow days in the future?
Well, that is another to be determined because there is some pending legislation. There's an omnibus bill, an all-encompassing bill that will impact our COVID funding and school operations, school calendar, testing, things like that. And one of those would give the mountain counties who typically miss 15 to 20 days a year due to snow, the ability to be more flexible with our calendar. Not the start date, not the end date, but other school systems would be restricted in the number of days that they could use for remote instruction. The bill as it's proposed now, and I give Senator Ballard the credit for doing this, would give school systems like ours up to 15 days that we could use for remote instruction if we need it. Now, we don't ever want to use 15 days of remote instruction, and not every snow day will be eliminated. But it was very nice this year that for the first time that I can remember since being in a school, as a child even, getting out of school before Memorial Day. And so we want to try to keep all of these things in balance. We want our children to be in school as much as possible. We want them to be able to safely get to school. We want that to be an equitable decision where some children can get to school and some children can't get to school. We were really concerned about whether or not remote instruction would be a good solution for snow days. And we found, at least the teachers have shared with me, that even though it's not the same as a full day of school, having students in school, the continuity of being able to continue instruction and students not getting behind and not having to wait maybe a week before we pick back up again was well worth using it. I think we used about 10 days for remote instruction this year. So yes, I think that's a thing that's here to stay. And we'll continue to do it and continue to get better at it and make sure that it's one more way that our students continue to get the best education they can.
We've talked a little bit with the other panelists about workforce development and just making sure that your staff has the resources and the training that they need. How have you had to adjust how you approach just that workforce training with your staff over the past couple months?
Well, it's very important. And so as a school system, we're kind of a learning organization. Kids who love to learn grow up to become teachers. And our teachers are always working hard to refine their skills, learn new curriculum, develop new resources, share with one another. We've had some growing pains with that, though, with changes of curriculum and standards and changes of tests. But our teachers work together in their professional learning teams to be able to do that. But as a large employer, we also have skilled trades, plumbers, electricians, and carpenters, diesel mechanics, heating and air conditioning folks, and we are always investing in their training, sending them to training, helping them to renew their professional licenses, helping them and giving them a financial incentive to gain additional professional licenses, just so that we can be the most efficient and be the most resourceful, but also the most responsible with the resources, the tax money that we have, so that we can continue to support great people. We have a lot of great folks who are locals. They grow up here and they want to stay here in this wonderful community and can come work with us or one of the other organizations in the community and earn a great living and be supported and continue to work on their skills. But it's so important that we all continue to get training and that we as employers continue to support our employees in their continued growth.
Absolutely.
As well.
One other little nuanced question, when we were talking about fall operations, any word on athletics, extracurriculars, what's that going to look like for students this upcoming year?
As normal as possible. I was speaking to one of the directors of the board of directors of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association this morning, and just to go back to March of last year when the governor closed things, as soon as the governor allowed any kind of limited operation of athletic practices, we were one of the first school systems in the state to do that. I believe very strongly in having as many healthy, active outlets for our students. And our coaches did just a phenomenal job of following all of the health and safety protocols. And I'm really proud that even though we had kids who became sick, we were not aware of any secondary transmission as a result of our athletic programs. And even though we had competitions that were canceled because there were outbreaks in other teams, and sometimes that put some of our players into quarantines, we didn't have to cancel a season or close a team or anything because of that. So we've learned how to do things and do things safely. Right now, if you were to go over to the high school, you would see cross country that is beginning their training in the summer program. We just ended track and field with the state finals, the state competition this past weekend. The football program is having 3-day-a-week workouts. The basketball program, the high school teams are off to a basketball camp right now. We just want things to be as normal and create as many opportunities as possible. Right now, I'm seeing no indication at all from the state that there will be any of these different kind of schedules and flip-flopping of seasons and things like that. We're really hopeful and confident to have a normal athletic season for the coming school year. Same with extracurricular activities, clubs, organizations, orchestra, band, ROTC, even field trips. Our Board of Education has just approved a number of out-of-state field trips to Space Camp or to grade level middle school trips to the coast or to the leadership program at Disney. We'll be safe about it, but we're just trying to help our schools and our students get back to doing some of those things that just make the school experience so special.
I think another one of those moments that everybody is clapping on the inside. Yay.
Yay.
So lots of talk about the Valley Cruises School Project. I would love for you to update the audience on where things stand with that project, timeline, and architect plans.
Couldn't be more excited right now. And again, thank you to the county commissioners for their support of that program and to our Board of Education for their perseverance and well over a year's worth of due diligence in investigating the property and going through a long process to make that happen. We now own property fronting Broadstone Road in Valley Cruises, just down the street from the current school. We have begun what's called the programming phase. So we've met with architects a couple of times now just to make sure that we that the architects are aware of the types of programs that we have in a school, and that we know the number of classrooms that we need and the kinds of support professionals that are there. And that has not yet taken shape into a floor plan or an elevation drawing or anything like that. We'll get there, but right now we're just looking at what kind of space do we need in the school. Probably by the end of this summer, we will be looking at floor plans, and it will really begin to take shape and be very exciting. We'll then begin to engage the community in the things that will really be visible about the school, the finishes, the exterior design, things like that. Some of those decisions, the placement of the school on the site, are really defined by the site itself. But we want to make a school that, we kind of had three driving values in looking for land, in looking for land in the design of the school. One is that many people wanted the school to stay in Valley Crucis. Second is health and safety. And so hopefully, knock on wood, we'll not be building any new schools that will be flooding from Dutch Creek or the Watauga River. Traffic and safety. If you've ever driven through Valley Crucis on a school day at 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon, then everybody becomes a part of the school traffic. So we're designing the space so that, working with the DOT, that we can get all the traffic off of the road. And then, of course, probably most important, that we have a school that's consistent with the look and feel and culture and history of a very special community. So those design decisions will be coming up soon. Once those drawings and designs take place, and we're making decisions about some of the engineering and heating and air conditioning and things like that, then work will go out to bid to contractors, and that part of the process really will be managed by our county and the county managers or county commissioners who are funding the program, of course with a lot of input from us. But the schedule provided to us by the architect, again with financing and contractors and weather and all the things that you deal with even when you're just building your own house, hopefully we'll be cutting a ribbon on that school in March or April of 2024.
Wow.
So it'll be here before you know it, and we're very excited and grateful to all of the community members and the parents and folks who have really supported the effort to solve what has been really a decades-long issue down in Valley Crucis with the need to replace that school.
And I think what we all love to hear is the intentionality behind the decisions about the school. You guys have just hit the nail on the head in making sure that it is the best possible place for the students in that community.
Yeah, we started by talking about our schools are community schools. So that's a school that community, I believe, will love and support for decades to come.
Absolutely. Any last closing thoughts for the business community, for the audience out there watching with us today? Anything you want to leave us with?
Just how grateful I am, how thankful I am for this community. The business community really stepped up in a way. And many times when the business community was really hurting and suffering, or there was so much uncertainty, you would never know it by their generosity to the children in our school system. So I'm grateful for those business partnerships, grateful for our parents for their support. And as a parent of 2 school-age children myself, just what a challenging year it was. And I always, no matter where I am, want to say thank you to our teachers and to our educators for their hard work and their dedication, their love and support for our students. It really is what sets us apart here. So thank you to everyone.
I think we echo those sentiments, and we thank you as always for your leadership in the community as well.
Thank you.
So guys, I appreciate you joining us today for the second installment of the State of the Community series. We had a fantastic panel of local education partners with us today. Be sure to mark your calendars for September 22nd. It will be the third installment of this State of the Community series, where we will talk more about infrastructure. Once again, I'm Katie Green with the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce. Have a great afternoon.